So with that in mind, let's get our first question.
Me? Okay, wonderful.
Make sure you come close to the mic and speak
yes,
clearly.
welcome.
Thank you.
From the non-pony creatures like dragons, bad ponies, etc., what is your favorite one to draw?
I love drawing Spike.
Okay.
Dragons, so you like dragons.
He's a baby dragon, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that he had thumbs.
You like drawing hands? I've been told artists do not like drawing hands.
I don't like drawing hands, but it's really hard to draw ponies holding things.
Mouths. Everything's just in their mouths.
Yeah,
or you just draw unicorns all the time.
That is literally why my first pitch was for Twilight Sparkle, because it gave me Spike and it gave me unicorn magic, because it would let me figure everything out. I did have to draw a typewriter in there.
A typewriter? Oh, is it one of those pony typewriters with the 2 buttons?
They hadn't done it yet. They hadn't shown that episode yet, so I didn't know that the ponies typed in binary. So if you look at it, there's a desk and you can see the typewriter, but there also looks like one of those spiky things that you put notes on. And in my mind, that's what the writer put on top of her hoof, and then she could punch all the individual keys.
That's clever, though.
And in my head, that's what the writer ponies use. So that's why the reporter ponies weren't using it, but that's why the one writer used it.
For efficiency, basically.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be better for them, yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Sure,
thank you for your question. Next up is you over there.
Hello.
Hello.
I want to ask, how much man does one comic need? How much personnel do you have with one comic to work with?
How much what do I have with one pony? I'm sorry.
How many people you have to work with for one comic?
Oh, it depends. On the My Little Pony comics, I'm usually working with, I have an editor who largely was Bobby Curnow, sometimes Megan Brown. I tended to draw covers after my first issue, so there were interior artists I worked with. So I'd work with like Tony Fleece or Andy Price. Andy was here, right? So
he was here before, yes.
So let me apologize on behalf of America.
He was wonderful. He did say he's a troll, though.
Yeah,
a cave troll. He lives in his basement.
This is not an untrue statement. No, yes. No, I love Andy. There's a writer, there's a letterer, which is weird for me because I cut my teeth lettering comics. That's how I got my start. So it's weird to have someone else do it. And then there's a colorist. And then there'd be a bunch of different covers all done by different artists.
So like 5 to 6 people
about 5
per issue?
Yeah, per issue, yeah. And that's how you're able to get the book out on a monthly basis, because there's so much work involved that if you did it top to bottom, it'd be really hard to do an entire book a month. When working on my creator-owned stuff, like the stuff I've done for Webtoon or Love and Capes, that I do myself, because I'm the only person I know who will work for my own crappy rates.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Again, do not be shy while he's drawing what looks like cheese sandwich. You can absolutely still ask questions.
Yep.
So must make sure you line up at both of one of these mics, tell your question to the lovely volunteers, and if it's a good question, you get to ask it, like you.
Thank you. I'm quite new to the fandom, and I would like to ask where I can buy the comics, and not only the My Little Pony comics, but also Love and Capes, the other comics you made.
I know they're all available through Amazon. I think they're available digitally too, which might be cheaper than getting them shipped. But Amazon is the place I know that you can get them. I don't know of any comic shops in the area, but I know...
There's a bunch of comic stores in Germany that will also order them for you.
Right.
There is an online store that if I'm allowed to do a quick plug for someone I know who I like, who I got my pony comics from. It's called Fusselschwarm. Is an online retail. There's furry comics. So obviously, it's kind of like a bigger bandwidth, but they also sell the pony comics. So you can find them online. Fusselschwarm. So. But also your local comic store, bookstore, and Amazon, absolutely. If you want to give Jeff Bezos money, that works out too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. What about your personal work? Is that, you said you do, your own web comics, like webtoons.
Right.
Is that available in print in any way?
Yes. Warning Label and the first volume of Cupid's Arrows are available in print now through Rocket Ship. The second volume of Cupid's Arrows has been delayed because the artist has been really slow with stuff. That's me. And life got in the way, but that'll be coming out hopefully by the end of the year. And more will come out. I do Kickstarters for most of my projects. So I was doing a superhero romantic comedy called Love and Capes, and it was about a superhero who said, I love my girlfriend, and I'm going to tell her that, but if I tell her that, I have to tell her everything. So is there ever a good time to tell your girlfriend you have X-ray vision? What does she want for Christmas when she knows you crush coal into diamonds? This was the thing that I did that got the most reaction and most notice. I did that for the better part of 10 years.
Wow.
And then I wound up being published by IDW, and IDW got the My Little Pony license, and I was dating a girl who was a big fan of My Little Pony. So IDW has a tendency to draw like 6 dozen covers on a book.
Yeah, these variants that you can get.
So I knew that there would be work, so I went up to him and I said, hey, can I draw a cover for My Little Pony, because you know that I'm on time and I can draw cartoony and it would really impress my girlfriend. And Bobby Curnow said, oh, would you like to pitch the book? And I'm like, well, I'm not an idiot. Yes. So I went home and I mainlined the show, and that's how I got hooked into it. I pitched one that went over well enough, and then I did more, and yeah, that's how I got my start. And then I did 3 projects for IDW. I did Love and Capes. I did one called Long Distance, about a couple in a long-distance relationship.
Oh, I know
because
that
I really
feeling.
named that one well. And then I did one called Time and Vine, which is about a magical time-traveling winery, where if you drink a bottle from 1912, you go back to 1912.
Oh, I love that concept.
Super fun to do the research on. And Webtoon, which is out of Korea, started trying to make a big presence in the United States. And I met the editor at a comic convention, and I told him the pitch for Long Distance, which is basically it's a couple in a long-distance relationship. And I didn't get done with it before he bought the book. I'm like, I don't know what to do. No one's ever not let me finish that sentence. But then...
Isn't that flattering, though?
It was, yeah.
Someone likes your stuff so much, you didn't even get done with the pitch until you were like, yes.
Exactly. And like in American comics, it's largely superheroes. There's a lot more than that, but superheroes are the big thing.
The big 2, obviously.
Yeah, DC and
all
Marvel.
the other smaller players, yeah.
Exactly. But in webcomics, romance is really good. So in American comics, I'm going to use a baseball metaphor, and I don't I'm an average person in comics, but in webcomics doing romance, I'm considered super awesome. So I did.
What was the baseball analogy you're going to make?
The baseball analogy is that I'm a utility infielder in regular comics, but I'm a left-hander reliever in.
See, 3 people in the audience got that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So I pitched him a bunch of ideas, and I thought, oh, they're not. I needed a 4th one, and I'm like, oh, I need to have one more pitch, and they probably won't take it, but I've got this idea about a girl who's cursed by her ex-boyfriend that every guy who asks her out gets the warning label of what they need to watch out for. And that was the one they went with. So I wrote warning label for the better part of 50 chapters on Webtoon. The Webtoon stuff is available for free. Feel free to buy a version of it, but you can read that for free on your phone. So I did that, and that went well enough that I did Cupid's Arrows, which is about a 2-person hitman team of Cupids that get couples together.
Oh, that's awesome. Styling them as hitmen sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
You ready for more questions, by the way?
Yeah, absolutely.
I love you rambling. It's just I want to make sure we get the people waiting.
Hi. I have a what-if question for you.
Okay.
Over here.
Oh.
If you could collab with any artist that are alive for a pony comic, who would it be and why?
Oh.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah. Part of me wants to say Jack Kirby, just because I want to see that kind of power brought to My Little Pony.
The classic, the man of the classic superhero pantheon.
Yeah. Also, I was friends with Darwin Cook. And Darwin just could do anything. And I would love to see because he had an animation background. So I would love to have seen him do some My Little Pony.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next question, please.
Hello.
Hi.
So one thing I'm curious about is how much interaction do you have with the other IDW staff, either writers or artists, when working on an issue?
Oh, well, I hate them all. No, we don't necessarily. It's been weird. When we first started, I don't think we had a lot of interaction with each other unless we knew each other personally. But over the shows, we've gotten to know each other personally.
Sure.
From conventions and such? Like you met at events?
We met at events, we met at conventions. I was in LA for a bit, and some of the artists were out there, and I met them there. Because a lot of times it's such a process that we weren't getting interaction through our editor.
Sure.
Like, we'd send in the script, and maybe there would be a problem, but otherwise, the setup is basically so that the editor is the pass-through and all the communication. But once we started to know each other, that we were able to communicate directly. So I wrote a 2-part story that brought back Flutterbat. And in it, there was a Pinkie Pie goes undercover. So, all right. So the apples in Applejack's farm become evil. Because it's like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, but with apples and ponies.
Oh, yes.
And obviously the thing you need to defeat the living apples is Flutterbat, because she was a fruit bat vampire. So Pinkie Pie has to go undercover as an apple, which is a whole thing, and she does. And I wrote a couple jokes, and Tony Fleece writes back when he gets the script and says, "You can write a better joke than that." And I'm like,
Did you?
Yeah, you're right. So yeah, I went ahead and redid it. So once we got to know each other, there was a lot more of us being able to communicate directly and work stuff out. As new artists came in, you lost that a little bit. Like, my scripts are often apologetic. So there's one where Fluttershy starts acting like all the animals in her sanctuary, and the first panel is first page has 16 panels on it.
Wow.
And an apology.
And
sorry I promise it won't. Yeah, I promise it won't be like this.
16 panels.
Yeah. I know I did that with Tony once too, where I said, "Okay, this page is gonna be really hard, but in 2 pages you're gonna get a full-page splash of Nightmare Moon, and that'll be really good for you." So.
So like you exchanged the apology. Like, okay,
Exactly.
make up for it. You get to draw a cool full-page splash. You're done.
Yeah, I found out Katie Cook is mean.
Katie Cook is mean.
Yes, because she was telling us this at a panel when we were in Baltimore. She would ask Andy what he didn't want to draw. And Andy's like, "I'm really busy. I really don't want to draw a crowd scene." And then she would write a parade.
I love that, to be honest. It's like, okay, Andy what needs to be put through his paces. Let's do it.
Exactly, yeah.
That's great, though.
So I meant sort of like conflicting information, like new ideas. You want to check that out. Is that clear with editors first, or just discuss with staff, or?
Oh, for
when you bounce ideas for pitches.
Like just to make sure an idea is not going to be allowed, or?
Yeah, sometimes we get prompts. With season 10, there were specific things that they wanted to cover. Sometimes
you mentioned Hasbro even was involved, saying, "Hey,
exactly.
This would be cool."
Sometimes we would get like general notes, like. Sure. Oh, I'm really looking for a rarity story because we haven't done a lot with rarity lately. And usually I would pitch like 8 or 9 ideas at once, and they'd pick a handful of them.
Sure.
But it would go all over from, I've got this idea where they all turn evil. I